One of the really interesting tidbits in your presentation talked a little bit about not just thinking about us in terms of what we're selling, but really digging into the consumer and trying to get inside their head, developing consumer profiles. How do you guys go about developing those consumer profiles?
The secret behind the consumer profile is getting a really good understanding of who the consumer is as a person. The problem is, as market researchers and as marketing people, we have a lot of data. In fact, sometimes I think we have too much data. We have piles and piles and piles of research reports, qualitative research, quantitative research, and it's a lot of data. The key is to take that data and to synthesize it and to put it into a really interesting, accurate, full story of who your consumer is. So what we like to do is we like to write consumer profiles. We literally put a face and a name to the consumer. We might call her Susan, and we will profile her. We will talk about what her life is like, if she's married, if she has children, if she works, what her daily struggles are, how she takes care of her family, all from the data. So it's accurate, it's real, it's able to be substantiated, but it's put into a story so that we can put some texture around it and make the data a little bit more tangible. And what ends up happening when you do that is you start to refer to your consumer as a real person. So it's not at all uncommon to be in a meeting and we'll be looking at advertising and have people say, well, what would Susan think? Would this work for Susan? Or we'll come up with a promotional contest and we'll say, would Susan participate in this? It's by developing these profiles that you add some realness to your data. Of course, you want to have more than one. You don't want to just have one consumer profile. You want to have several to kind of represent the different segments, but it just makes it a lot more tangible.
So, and this is maybe kind of an off-the-wall question, but obviously you develop a lot of these profiles for the various clients. Is there any one or two profiles that have stuck out where you really feel like you get that emotional connection, like it's somebody that you could either see that you know or just somebody you connect with?
Well, it's really interesting. We do a lot of work with teenagers, and it's really easy as a marketer to think about what life was like when you were a teenager.
Okay.
And to try to sort of think through, well, when I was a teenager, this is what I was going through. So this is how we should think about marketing my brand to teenagers. But the truth is it's hard to do that because the world is very different now than it was when any of us were teenagers, 10, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it is. But the one commonality, though, is the emotions. So while our lives as teenagers were different than teenagers today, the emotions are the same.
Okay.
So for me, whenever we're doing consumer profiles of teenagers, they always stick out in my mind because they're so emotionally driven. Teenagers are at the crux of their life, and they're very much in the throes of understanding who they are and going through life experiences for the first time. So they always stick out for me, and they always remind me of when I was a teenager and the emotions that I went through, which just makes it kind of satisfying.
Very, very interesting. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jim. And the book, again, is The Experience Effect. And again, we're at the AMA Market Research Conference in Atlanta. Thanks again.
Thank you.